never did do. I tried to be as risk averse as I could. I used to, if I was going to sell them a bunch of options, I'd go right away and buy the stock and try to hedge the position.
John, don't you think that when you short a stock, it should be illegal? And explain what it is.
Shorting stock involves, there's two ways. One, all right, a short sale of the stock involves a person who, for whatever reason, he wants to make a bet that the stock is going to go down, okay? And so what he does, he might sell all the stock he owns, or if he's sold all the stock, then he wants to get where he is actually in a position to make a profit if the stock goes down. So what he'll do is he'll go borrow somebody's stock that does have the stock, and he will sell that share or those shares to the public. And whoever buys it will buy it from you, and you deliver the shares that you borrowed from somebody else. Okay, so what happens is that if the stock is 50 when you make the short sale and the stock goes to 45, you in fact sold from 1,000 shares perhaps of that you borrowed at 50, and you sold it at 50, and now if it's at 45, you buy it back, and now you just deliver the shares back to the person you borrowed them from, okay? So you'd make 5 points.
I wonder why they wouldn't get anything.
Well,
just because you borrowed it, I mean, it's so bizarre, isn't it?
Well,
you're borrowing something you don't even own.
Well, that's a regular way short sale, and it happens all the time, okay? But now, what has gotten the criticism over the last years is what they call naked short selling. Okay, now naked short selling is when you make that short sale of that 1,000 shares or 10,000 shares, or when these guys are trading on inside information, they do a large trade. Okay, so if you shorted that 10,000 shares at 50, and you might have been looking for somebody to lend it to you, and there's nobody around that's lent it because they all lent it out to other guys. Okay, and so if you short it without borrowing it, then you don't deliver to the buyer, and he's waiting for you to buy to receive delivery, perhaps. But all of this stuff is done in back doors at the firms, and they don't care too much about the fact that the guy didn't receive delivery. They might get excited about the fact that I didn't deliver. Okay, but anyway, if you make the short sale, which is a bet the stock's going to go down, and you do not borrow, that is what they call naked short selling. And that's what all the commotion was about, preventing people from shorting the financials about 2 years ago. And, the blame for the collapse of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns was partly or substantially put on the naked short sellers. Now, who is allowed to make naked short sales? Well, you and I are not allowed. I mean, if I wanted to go short a stock and I can't borrow it, they're not going to let me short it.
So who's allowed?
The market makers are allowed. The options market makers are allowed under the law to make naked short sales. Now, who are the market makers these days? Well, you have, it's not like little guys like me or even Blair or other individuals or little small groups. It's large operations like Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and hedge funds that have billions of dollars, okay? So those are the ones who have an exemption to the naked short sale rule. And they're the ones, if there was naked short sales taking place, then they're the ones who did it, okay? Now, another form of naked short selling is a buying of a put. If you buy a put, you're effectively making a bet the stock's going to go down. Now, so you didn't borrow any stock from somebody if you bought a put, you see. So I wrote a couple of articles about how buying a put is similar to making a naked short sale, and people say, "Oh, no, you're wrong." And I said, "Look, man, I traded a lot of options as a member of the Pacific and the CBOE, and I know there's not much difference from buying a put and shorting the stock, and naked short selling the stock." So, but anyway, there was a lot of talk about Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers being collapsed by a cabal of naked short sellers and guys who were rumor mongers, who were putting out rumors about Bear Stearns being in trouble, and the naked short sellers working with them, and they just hit the stock in big numbers, and then they put out more bad stuff, and it eventually caused a run on Bear Stearns, and nobody would lend them any money, and it collapsed them overnight. That is the story. That's the official story as to what collapsed Bear Stearns, and similarly, Lehman Brothers, although Lehman Brothers didn't collapse as fast as Bear Stearns. Okay? Now, I think that whole scenario is just a boogeyman. You see, whenever they pull off these events, in my view, like 9/11 and the Kennedy assassination, they all have a boogeyman out there already, because they have to be able to blame it on somebody real quick, because the people are going to say, "Well, who did it?" And it might be the government, or it might be some bankers. So they have boogeymans ready, and so in my view, the naked short sellers, together with the rumor mongers, were the naked short seller, were the boogeyman in the takedown of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers. Okay, and so you have this fellow by the name of Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne was, it still is apparently, I'm not really following it, but he's the CEO of a company called Overstock. Now, he seems like a nice fellow, I think he's got a degree in philosophy from some university, so it can't be that bad if you've got a degree, a PhD maybe in philosophy. So he claimed that his company was the target of some of these naked short sellers who ganged up on him and unjustifiably knocked his stock down, because they were doing naked short sellers, and they were together with these rumor mongers led up by a guy out of Arizona called Carl Bettis of Gradient Analytics. Now, I've talked to Carl Bettis, and I think he's a victim of being charged, not being charged, but being claimed that he was part of a cabal that took down several stocks and this and that. And incidentally, to show you what a small world it is, Overstock sued Carl Bettis and another outfit in Marin County, in Marin County Superior Court. I don't know if you know where Marin County Superior Court is. Sure do. You do?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Frank Lloyd Wright building, right in the city civic center. Okay? I've had some dealings with the Marin County Superior Court myself, because I used to live in Mill Valley. And
Mill Valley is very pretty.
Yeah, I lived there when I was trading as a market maker in San Francisco. I lived there, and I lived in Sausalito a little bit, and I actually built houses after I quit trading in 1984. But nevertheless, Overstock sued some people in Marin County Superior Court, and the defendants were defending themselves, and it looked like it was going along pretty good. But somehow, the Attorney General for the state of California filed an amicus curiae brief.
What does that mean?
Well, amicus curiae means friend of the court. Okay, and in other words, it's anybody can file an amicus curiae brief with the court. In other words, if you have some legal